but it's a whole lot faster. But it requires 4x4 PCI lanes. So basically it means 4 PCI lane, 16 PCI lanes or whatever. It's 4x4, whatever. So it means it's got to take one of your game ports, video card ports, right? For a controller card or a motherboard that has that built into it. Well, he's leaving in the morning for Florida, I guess. So
We have Steve and we have.
he's in town, but he's going home because he still has to pack.
Virtual camera. Hello. Can people hear?
Hello.
People can hear me. What is going on?
Not much. I'm tired.
Uh, are you around or are you down in Florida?
Oh, I'm sorry. The video is off. I'm still here in Cincinnati,
Oh,
but we're leaving in the morning and I haven't packed yet. And I don't feel so well. So
uh,
I think I got a little bit of the flu.
it's raining out and you just don't want to do nothing.
No, that's normal. This is worse. I'm on the toilet way too much.
I understand. Uh, I I'm not having a problem obviously running Zoom, but I'm not sure that the repo is actually updating. It looked like it ignored part of it or something. I don't know what it's doing. Maybe it's working. Maybe I'm just freaking out.
Mm,
Maybe because Zoom hasn't had an update for a little while. I'm just thinking it's not working.
So Steve,
yeah,
will a U.2 drive work on a U.3 card?
it should. At least I believe.
That's what I kind of figured it did, but I haven't found anything that said
Yes or no?
since they're different drivers for U3 if it would work with a U2 driver. So I did find a controller card.
Oh. Okay, what's that going to set you back?
So it's a tri-mode card. It'll take SATA, SAS, and U.3. They're about $280,
Damn.
and that's without the connecting cables. But it'll support 1024 SATA drives or 48 U.3 drives.
1,024.
That's what it says.
What do you want to do? Become Google?
Well, that's the only card I have found that has an interface for a U dot whatever. But there's supposedly some motherboards that do, but I don't. They rattle off a couple models and they make like a port on a couple things that supposedly will do it. They look like a dual USB port. Kind of plug or like a dual micro or like mini firewire or something. They look like they're like two pairs of 8-wired USB port.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't matter finding something that has that port on it, motherboard wise, to use that drive or get the interface card. But I was thinking about the interface card though, is because it supports the U dot. If I ever got another one, I could just put it on there, but it also has supports the SAS 3, which I need for that 18 terabyte drive anyway. So I could just put all my SAS drives in a new box on that new card and get full speed out of them instead of the half speed or whatever I get out of all my stuff.
Okay.
Yep.
Can you hear me now?
There you are. We can hear you.
Okay, let me do some adjustment here. Okay.
The son-in-law brought an Xbox 360 that he found in the trash
Yeah,
up because I've got an Xbox 360 and we thought we could hook it up to at least see if it worked.
yeah.
Of course, I've got the old model. He's got one. He found one of the newer models.
Mhm.
I'm sitting there looking at it and I'm going, "What's this for?" It's the Connect port. The Connect
Oh, yeah, for the,
for the
Yeah.
camera thing. It's a USB port, but Microsoft went and made it
funky.
funky.
Yeah.
Because of course they did.
Yeah.
So I couldn't help you because I've got the old style, but I was just sitting there marveling that it's not really much smaller. It is. It's a little bit smaller,
Yeah.
but it's not really much smaller, and it's called the Slim.
Mhm.
And then it's got that proprietary weird connector thing that only works with the Connects, but it's basically a USB port that I'm sitting there, why?
There used to be a game shop there in Eastgate Mall that had those for about $40 or
Yeah.
something. If you wanted them, but I said that they went out somewhere in COVID
He
after COVID.
he said that, I mean, he didn't have a controller or any cable or anything. He said the whole setup was going to cost him about $50, and I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if I'd spend money unless I knew it worked.
Yeah. Well, I just said the controller might be better than getting something, but no, I wouldn't on a 360. I wouldn't even bother with it unless you had games for it. Because
That's why
you have the Xbox X or the Xbox S or something.
that's why I told him. I said if he decides to get rid of it, I'll take it from him just because I do have games and it would be an upgrade.
Yeah,
But I didn't think it was worth messing with. I really didn't because my Xbox has sitting in the closet for the past 5 years.
well, that's my problem too. I don't do console games, so I'd like to get it. I do like the interface and the platform and stuff on the new Xbox and stuff, but you put $500 in there. I'm for never play it. I play MMOs all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't see the I mean
you sit there and watch load screens. That's since they got rid of cartridges, it's like I can't stand consoles.
see, I don't mind the Switch.
Yeah.
I'll sit and play the Switch all day long, but anything disc-based is just, I'm sitting there going, oh, okay, Steve sent us something. Let's see if we can figure out how to make chat work.
You're gonna find me a fast controller that's only $80 instead of $280.
Well, but it only supports a single drive. Puts a drive on a PCIe port.
Yeah, I saw that card too, but the catch with that card is you're losing your game port or your video card port for that card. So that's kind of brutal to lose the whole thing for one drive.
So some of what I'm seeing says that it should work. Other things I'm seeing says it won't. So I don't know.
I was saying,
Don't ask the AI.
the other one's a Broadcom card,
Mhm.
and then it's like the SAS card, it's got jacks on it to hook up more cables. So, like I said, it says I don't know. I haven't seen any cables that there had some pairs where they had 4 wires. I found per prong. So I don't know how you get to 1,000 drives off that SAS controller.
So you only have one PCIe slot in there?
Well, no, most computers have 2, but it's the 4x4.
Oh,
It's your PCI 16, which most boards, you have one for your video card.
gotcha.
And then the computers I've got that actually do have two, one's for your video card, one's for your SAS card.
Right, gotcha.
So
I'm with you.
the
So you got to give up one or the other, is what you're saying.
yeah, for a single drive.
For a single drive, it
it's
doesn't
not
make sense.
losing a PCI 4 slot. But if you're going to lose a PCI 4 slot for the SAS controller and hook 8 other drives to it, or
That might,
10 other
that might
drives
be
to
all right.
it, then yeah, I don't mind it. Especially when I'm not using full utilization on the 6 drives I have now, because I'm running SAS 3 on SAS 2 cards, because I haven't been able to find a SAS 3 card. And it's funny because when I came across that video with that Broadcom card, it's a tri-mode card that does all three. Now Amazon shows me all kinds of 12 gig SAS cards for like $70. I'm like, where the hell's this been for the last 2 years? I've been hunting for this stuff.
Well, you know,
Because I was trying to find
you didn't go to the right Chinese website.
I guess, I don't know. Well, and I only thing I can think is because I'd originally searched for, I have the Dell Perka 300 or whatever. I was trying to find the new model of that. So all Amazon recommends to me is the SAS 2 cards. I was like, surely there's a SAS 3 card, but I've never had a lot of luck digging around trying to find one, or if Dell just didn't make one, or what, or the Perka cards didn't make them, or what. I've never found a SAS 3 compatible Perka card. Because when Dell did their next gen, I guess they just put it on the board instead of screwing around with the standoff card.
Yeah.
I know Perka's been around for decades, so I would have thought it'd been easier to find. But
They're gambling on something if they're putting it on the board.
yeah, well, that's why there's a few motherboards that have one U.2 port on them, allegedly, but I haven't gone digging for them.
That Dell, that desktop, that all-in-one that I've got,
Yeah,
said there were two,
in the main ports.
and there's not. There's a saddle port and a into N.2.
In that too. Yeah.
And I'm like, but it clearly said there were two N.2 ports, and I'm like, liars.
Well, one might be eaten by your Wi-Fi.
Oh, you know what? It could be buried down in there somewhere that I can't see.
Yeah, they do that too. And you can buy drives to replace your Wi-Fi port with now too. They have them up there at Micro Center now. They're cheap compared to what they were. They had a 2 terabyte like that big for.
But that's the thing.
Or something.
That's actually the thing that got me about that was nowhere in the specs did it say that it had a SATA port. Nowhere. I opened it up to put that 1 terabyte M.2.
Yeah.
And where's the second M.2 at? Because I didn't see it. I still don't have a clue. I had the entire backlog, but I'm going, wait, nowhere in the specs does it say there's a SATA port.
It could be a cable for SATA to M.2 interface. Yeah. Dell does make that funky cable that does that.
Oh, I wish it was documented a little bit.
I'm just saying.
Because I would have stuck something in there had I.
Yeah.
My initial plan was to keep the original 512 M.2 and just stick the 1 terabyte in and increase my storage. But
there was some weird Dell model too that had a little funky like 20 long thing that snapped in, and then went to an IDE or a SATA connector on the end too.
This looked like a
standard pain in the butt because it pop off that metal bracket.
Well, I had to even figure out how to get it open. I watched a couple of videos and people were putting SATA drives in it. So
yeah,
okay, so it's upgradable, but
a lot for you. hold the say to them.
But it's not at all what I was expecting. You're probably right. The Wi-Fi was probably M.2.
There's one of the videos I was watching too now, they were like, you're in the unique slot, you can actually replace that, put in a 4-port SATA connector in place of that
Here,
M.2.
Steve sent that to you.
Yeah.
That's what we need, Steve.
Well, you've seen the 61.44 terabyte one, right?
Can't hear you, Steve. Steve, you're muted.
I am muted. I haven't seen those. They're not on Amazon yet.
Yeah, they are out of stock.
Ah, okay.
But yeah, I came across the videos that talked about U.2 and its prevalence, and their new, like, it was a solid gram, or somebody makes a 61.44 terabyte U.2 drive, or you can get it in the E1 micro form factor L. So there's actually a 1U tray that takes these, they're called 1E-Ls or E1Ls. You put 2 petabytes in a 1U rack. They look like gun magazines.
I wouldn't even ever come close to.
Well, I've never even heard of E1 or E3 until yesterday or whatever. And
1 petabyte. Oh my
so, and
God.
that's the original was that rack was designed for 1 petabyte storage. It's just shy of it, but now that there's a 61.44 terabyte
yeah.
now, it gets to 2. You just got to replace all 24 of those little sticks, but they're basically NVMe cards that are about this long.
Yeah.
They're like 1 inch by 1 inch squares. If you need active cooling.
Well, you think?
Yeah.
Water cool. Plus air conditioning.
But yeah, I was like, I'd like to see a price tag on that, but all the stores that have, Walmart has them allegedly too, but they're out of stock. So I guess they've been out for a couple of weeks or something. I just saw the video for them. It was only like 2 days old.
I don't really think I want to know what the price of that would be.
Well, they're saying they're cheaper than the old drives. So like people trying to sell the like 2 and 3 year old ones, it's like these are like a third of the cost of the old, like 30 gig or 30 terabyte. So they're really crushing the market price down.
But okay.
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure they're more than I'll spend on a drive, but the concept is to buy 3 spinners to be at 61 terabytes is $1,000.
Yeah.
So if you can buy 1 stick thingy for $1,000, then you have 1 point of failure instead of 3. But the guy had a very interesting perspective in the review. The other concept thing is too, it can only write half the drive a day.
Okay.
Because most Knox systems, you know, the concept is how many times can you rewrite the drive in a day?
Yeah.
And they're usually 4 or 5. And this one's half the drive in a day. But you got to realize half a drive is, you know, 32
that's a lot of
terabytes.
That's a lot of storage.
Yeah.
Almost. You almost made it. What we got? What we got? What we got? Oh,
Ask your friend of Micro Center coupon.
free 32.
Free thumb drive.
Yep. Or
SD
SD card.
freebie.
You're trying to make it so that I go to Micro Center is what you're
I
trying
just
to
came from Micro Center. They don't have a U.2 motherboard. They're out of it.
Or drives.
You know, they used to send me stuff like that. I haven't gotten mail from them in probably 2 years.
Yeah, I haven't gotten
I get
anything.
stuff from them all the time.
My dad gets stuff from them, and he shopped there like twice. I used to shop there all the time.
I used to get a lot from them, and then I used my things for free stick a couple times, and then I stopped getting anything from them at all.
Me too.
And they started sending them to the office. Had an account there for buying hardware before I got there. And they gave them some free sticks, and I got those, and they stopped sending them to my office now too. Just didn't buy enough stuff to go with them.
I must have 6 or 8 USB flash drives.
Yeah.
There's like, they started giving away 8s and then 16s and 32s and
Oh, yeah, I only carry
64.
16 anymore, I don't think.
Mhm.
I went in there the other day to buy an 8, because I just need something to move some files around that I didn't care about, and I was gonna give away. And they're like, "No, we don't have those anymore." I'm like, because I only wanted to spend a buck or two, you know? It's like, now the smallest one they got's like $5. I was like, yeah.
I was at Walmart 6 months ago, maybe, and over on their clearance shelf. They're full size SD cards, not the whatever the mini ones, but 128 gig cards for $4. They were clearancing them out.
Yeah.
I went. I still have 3 of them, I think, unopened. But for $4,
Yeah. Buy a hard drive for that.
can't buy it. Yeah, well, that was back when, like I said, the original that Dell that I bought only had 512 in it. You know, another 128 was
Good chunk of.
was a good deal.
I was just down here and you know, your little magnetic connectors were USB.
Mhm.
I asked, you got them? I said, we didn't need them. It's like,
What?
Yeah, I'm not shocked. I'm really surprised they don't carry techie stuff like that.
What?
They make killing.
I am sure Micro Center has.
If they do, they probably want $50.
They probably do.
I've never seen them there.
But yeah, I've never seen them there either.
well, they've got a lot of stuff there, and I didn't go up and down every aisle and
No, I have.
well, I meant today.
Yeah, well, I mean,
But you know, they might actually consider those phone things.
well, their cabling provided by a vendor. The vendor only gives them legit cables, and they give them for like $1 and charge you 20 for them. What they charge for DisplayPort cables now is stupid.
Verbatim USB-C adapter. Just the adapter,
$35.
$35.
Yeah, but that's in the Apple section.
That is in the actual. That is
Oh,
in the
well, that
Apple
explains
section.
that.
So that's the only magnetic stuff I've ever seen was for Apple.
Okay, but that is impressive. That's full USB-C.
Yeah.
The ones I've got are USB 2, which is fine. I just use them for charging. But that's got a pile of pins.
Yeah, well, they do have them. You just didn't ask the right people.
What that's for is their docking station adapter for their stupid Mac
Yeah,
dock, whatever, because I have seen that in there
well,
for their keyboard layouts and stuff for their Mac Mini.
there's no way I would pay $35 for. I mean, especially when you can get them for $5-6
Well,
or cheaper.
I'll say, like you said, that is a USB-C, so I don't know what those cost. I've never looked one of them up, but I have seen that over in the Mac section.
That cable that I had last week from N5. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's a data cable and charging, but I'm pretty sure it drops to USB too.
Most of them do.
I mean, it's only got what 6 pins on it or something. So
Mine doesn't do data. I mean, the plug only charges one way, so you gotta sometimes take it out and flip it back over.
mine doesn't seem to care how you connect it as long as it's connected.
I took mine off to download some pictures off my iPad the other day. It wasn't charging. I was like, crap. And took it out, flipped it over, plugged it back in. Then it started charging.
Well, Julie has a case on her phone and where you have to get in to plug in the charger. It's like back in the back of the tunnel. You gotta get your arm all the way out there. So I was hoping to get one that would be a little bit more convenient.
You're probably just gonna have to go on Amazon or eBay or somewhere.
No.
Break down my one.
I
bought a
they're
Amazon Days or whatever. I got one with like a 3-inch, 6-inch, 8-inch, something like a 12-foot cord. Came with all of them. And get something in the back and then hanging off and into the desk.
The one that I got from M5, it's got a round connector on the one end. And I mean it works just fine for the purpose of microcontrollers and whatever. But I tried to plug it in with the phone case and the round connector kind of got in the way. So what Steve has, it's kind of more of a flat thing, works better.
Yeah, I like Stevie better than what I bought.
Yeah.
I just
it's all depending upon what you're
trying to do.
yeah.
About a year ago, I had some electrical 110 AC problems at my daughter's house. And I had a friend of my wife's husband is an electrician. So I had him come over and he ended up with a wristwatch that talked to the camera on his phone. And that was pretty cool. My stepson found one of those in the trash. The reason I bring it up is because the connection on the back of it is magnetic. I think, if you wait long enough, whatever you're wanting will end up in the dumpster or the trash or at the curb.
Yeah, you know where to find it. Or there when it gets there.
But it was pretty cool because he was able to reach in with his phone through the opening in the ceiling above the sink and look around and see everything he needed for the electrical boxes. My head's small, but it's through a small opening.
Yesterday, his neighbor threw out an electric lawnmower. And the guy, it looked like it was brand new. He said, that can't be anything wrong with that. We went out there and it wouldn't spin the one way, so he spun it the other way and started unraveling all the crap because it let it set with all the grass got packed into it or whatever. And he left it from the last fall, and once he broke all that out, it started up just fine. It just couldn't, the motor couldn't turn, the correct way until you got all the crap off the.
There was a woman down the street from me that had an electric lawnmower. She's using it on the 16 gauge extension cord.
Yeah.
So I had found a 10 gauge, a manual extension cord, 100 foot, and took that down. And I said, try it out with a little heavier gauge cord. And it's a different lawnmower.
Touch grass.
My mom, she was using one and it had a sorry. my 2008 car. Hello? Crap gets down into the motor of the windshield wipers.
Yeah.
And the windshield wipers don't work. I have to go out there with a screwdriver and just start poking at it and get all that stuff out of there. But the 09 doesn't have that problem. The 07 doesn't have that problem. That was very specific problems to the 08.
New model.
Oh.
Changed for the.
They changed something for the sake of changing something, and then it didn't work. And went back.
Oh, Microsoft product.
I wouldn't think that they
Ford,
went back.
almost the same thing.
They probably just modified what they did for the next model to cover the flaws or whatever.
Well, I thought that they had maybe ran out of parts or something and had, because the door lock system and the power window are completely backwards from the 09. 100% backwards. So I thought, okay, maybe they used some other parts for something. No, this was a design choice that they decided they were probably going to make changes, and the changes were bad, and they went back to the 07 model.
Well, so a lot of companies start tinkering when they're getting ready to come out with the next generation of the model. Prius, my Prius model, from what I understood originally, was the 2008 was supposed to be the end of the Gen 2, and then the next, the 09 and upward, third gen. But when they started making changes in the 07 and 08, prepping for that, and the third gen actually didn't officially come out to 2010. But all the documents still said, like I had the last year of Gen 2. Well, that's weird. But yeah, there's funny part differences in the dash between the 7 and 8. And
you probably wouldn't notice unless you had both of them.
We'll have to deal with parts and
yeah.
So like I've got an 08 dash because there was an electrical problem where a leak, water leak was, but then because it was installed afterward, they replaced it with an 08 part because they didn't surplus build dashes, right? It was kind of weird. They didn't calibrate the car for that, so I get like cascade errors and crap when stuff goes screwy because it's got different.
Well, I'm not.
In it,
The 09 had other unique problems that was specific for the 09.
Yeah.
But they fixed the problems that the 08 that they caused by just changing crap for no good reason.
Well, that's what really irked me off too, is when I got that Prius. Well, that was awfully odd that phones wouldn't interface with it. But it was like 4 or 5 years before I learned that there actually was a dock on the back of the stereo. It was an aftermarket. They made like a thing for like $250. You could jack into that plug on the back, and you have a whole dock interface for Apple devices. So you could have Apple Maps and all, oh, it's dumb to have a nice colored LED screen like this big with no map system, And it actually was available for the 07, and just my car didn't have it. And they wanted like silly money to put it in after.
My dad drives a CRV.
Yeah.
And it has a USB jack in the center. Actually, it's got a couple of them. Yeah. We originally thought it was for charging, but I plugged my phone in, and all of a sudden CarPlay came up, and I'm like, oh, that's cool.
That's
not that you will ever use that for any particular reason.
I got that on my new car, but I haven't plugged a phone into it because I don't know. It's like, do I really want to pair and dump all my phone to a car? So I was thinking of taking my old phone and doing that to put music on my old phone and then stick it in the console.
Well, the only reason why we did it was because my phone needed to be charged, and there's a USB port. So,
yeah.
So, hey, Mr. Art, you got anything going on? To us,
getting ready to come back to Milford next if all goes according to schedule. Next week I will be in Milford or Southern Ohio or whatever. So we'll see.
We'll be virtual next week, though.
Yep, we're virtual next week. We're virtual for the next
rest of the month.
Next couple meetings, yeah.
So we can meet at like House of Blue.
I got I got us set up for 2 more meetings in May, the first 2 in May. So we're not having any problems getting stuff set up or anything.
I went back.
Are they all full 2 hours or
Yes. And I figured out what the glitch was, why I think technically we have this room a little tiny bit longer than we're normally supposed to, because the new system is incremented in 15-minute increments instead of half-hour increments. So I figured out the technical glitch, which probably me.
Well, I looked last night, and all of the past meeting videos have come up nicely. And some of the postings go all the way back to 2016.
Long time ago. Yeah. So when I first started recording the meetings many years ago, I was uploading them to my personal thing. Now, I since realized that wasn't the best thing to do, so I created the channel just for this. But I probably have, I don't know, 20 videos or so that were previously on my old channel that aren't there anymore. So I think they probably date back even further than 2016.
What are you trying to say, Ray?
Nothing. I was coughing.
Oh.
so what time zone are you in, Ray?
I'm in northern edge of Columbus, Ohio.
Almost home.
I'm all good.
Coming or going?
Actually, I'm leaving Columbus, going to Troy. Then from Troy, I'll go back to Middletown, pick up a different laser, and I got to be north of Detroit by 9 a.m.
And why don't you have somebody meet you in Troy with the new laser that you need?
I don't know. No, it's just not worth it. It's just not worth it.
It's just not worth it.
He likes the drive.
He likes the driving.
Love the drive, right? Sure.
Yeah, I was gonna say
2 hours one way. It's all right. It's good.
the way people drive anymore, I don't even think half the people should be allowed on the road anymore.
And the range is worse.
The rain today has made it so much worse.
Yeah.
Just going about 25 miles, I have seen where people, they've got the stop and go traffic and they're bumping each other. So they're smashing out windows and destroying bumpers.
Yep.
The truck hit an SUV. Now, obviously, the truck had those huge bars on the front of the truck, like they're going to ram somebody.
The push bars.
And so when that steel bars rammed into the back of an SUV, it shattered the back window and the deck lid and all that fun stuff. Yeah.
Coming down here.
But the truck looked perfectly fine. The truck looked like there's no damage at all. Maybe a couple scratches.
It's smart.
Coming down here today, there was somebody with their flashers on in the fast lane, no headlights, just cruising along. It's like, is that flasher to tell us it's raining? I mean, I think everybody on the road can figure that out.
Their lights don't work. They're trying to get home.
So
their brake lights work because they were up there tailgating somebody.
But how many people that didn't have lights on were astonishing.
I didn't notice so much the no light thing, but how many people just decide that it's pouring down rain, so I'm going to do 80 miles an hour down the road. I'm surprised that there wasn't like a huge pile up on the way down. I mean,
it was on that car right coming down 255. And then on 125, there's a car that's gone through the flashy yellow lights through when the light turned red on the expressway or whatever. And they had taken it out. It was laid like that. And then there was a work crew standing it back up. And, I went by it.
I mean, I was doing 65 and people were like honking at me to go faster. I'm like,
And you were probably in the slow lane.
I was in the slow lane.
Well,
I moved over twice to let traffic in like a good person should.
It wasn't until I got my first front wheel drive that I realized how often I was hydroplaning. when the tachometer goes.
I don't really have the hydroplaning problem, but
I don't this rear wheel drive at all.
For me,
I love my rear wheel drive.
I just never perceived that I was hydroplaning, but it had been occurring a lot, and I was just not aware.
I did a 180, or no, 360 in a Ford Ranger once, punching out of the UDF. And it took off, the rear end spun all the way around. I mean, the car coming this way went this way, and I came on around, bounced over the curb, and ended back up where I started trying to pull out of the UDF. I was like, wow, that was wild.
And fun. Let's do it again.
And the guy that was in the car that watched me go around him looked paler than a sheet.
And he says,
sitting
I'm going to take note of that guy instead of help away from him.
I've got good tires on, especially on the rear end because it is rear wheel drive. And I've only noticed it like from a dead stop. You know, sometimes if I hit the gas just a little too hard, I'll get that hydroplaning effect.
He was coming, and I was like, well, this is the window because the lights were changing. And I was like, this is the last chance I got to pull out because he's going to block me in. And I punched it, buddy. And here he comes. And I'm like, rear end goes like this. And I just do this. And he parks here. And I.
Yep.
And I was like, well, that didn't do me any good.
I rarely see the tachometer on my car go up over 6,000, actually. Even when I punch it, it stays relatively low RPM. But it's a fast car, so now when a couple of years ago when there was a lot of ice out on the road, I definitely I was sitting there going, I really like the power of this car, but on ice it just the rear end just everywhere.
I used to drive that Eagle Summit back and forth to Huntington, West Virginia for co-op in the winter. And I remember taking what was that, 50 along or 52 along the Ohio River. I remember seeing a car out in front of me. I was kind of tired and driving, but it disappeared. Oh, that's kind of weird. I mean, there's snow and icy and stuff like that. The weather was totally crap. I was doing like 55 or 60 miles an hour because it was like 11 o'clock at night or something. All of a sudden, the road goes, and because there's a little dip in the road, and I saw headlights in the grass. I guess when he hit that dip, he'd gone off the road. Because I waffled coming up out of it because it was all black ice. And I like tapped my brakes to try to slow down to like, we're gonna go check on the guy, and we're like, car's like, no, you're not. Not at 55 miles an hour, you're not. Because man, I tapped that and it just started going off into the other lane, and I was like, okay, let's let it cruise and get back. And I just kept on going because there wasn't no way I could stop for him. But
rear wheel drive, there's no weight back there.
Yeah.
It's like driving a truck.
Bounced and spun around and was in the ditch. But I didn't. I was like, all of those headlight, the taillights just disappeared. Kind of like about a half mile later, I was like, "Whoa, there!" Like, no, I know why it disappeared.
This was a decade or so ago, and we were coming back from Dayton. And I was in the center lane of 75. And the woman in front of me started to change from the center lane to the left-hand lane. And she moved over and realized, oh, there's a car there already. She jerked the wheel and went back through the center lane to the right-hand lane, jerked the wheel again and came back across 3 lanes, and then jerked it and went back across 3 lanes and then off the highway on the right, and the car rolled. And I was able to get over and stop and ran back to see whether she was okay. And the car was sitting on the passenger side door. So another guy and I climbed up on the car, and it was slimy from being rolled. And we got the door open and looked in, and there wasn't anybody in the car that we could see. So we called in, and she was in the back seat. And one thing that I noted was that damn door was really heavy when you're picking it up, when it doesn't swing. So we called to confirm that she was the only one in the vehicle, and now we're trying to figure out how to get her out of the car. And the person approached from the other side, walked up, put his hand through where the windshield was supposed to be, got her hand, and she walked out. It's like we had no idea the windshield was entirely gone. So we're contemplating how to get her out through the door, which would have been disastrous.
Well,
I had my Ford Escort, the only car, the car that I ended up putting the rod through the thing. I mean, I treated that car horribly. It was on its side twice. And the second time I opened the door. I was sitting in the passenger seat or in the driver's seat, and I just opened the door and pulled myself out, jumped out and got over and pushed it back on its side, got back in and drove off. Nobody was around. I was being stupid. I was out on a country road and I hit gravel, and I slammed on the brakes as I hit gravel, and I turned, and the car just went, and I went, oh, okay, I'm on my side. No more mirror. The other time I was towing something, and an ambulance was coming. I slammed on the brakes, and the thing came off the tow hitch and hit me and pushed me over. And the ambulance was not happy because they actually had a real emergency. I'm just sitting there going, yeah, just push me back over. I'll be fine, guys.
I'm reminded about that period of time when the Ford Escort was coming out and the Ford had acquired Jaguar. And the comedian said, do we really need an Escort that will do 140 when it's not in the shop?
I liked my Escort. I have used the crap out of my Escort, but I prefer bigger cars, and I prefer rear wheel drive versus front wheel drive cars. The majority of cars I've owned have been rear wheel drive. But I have owned a couple of I've owned a Toyota Corolla, hated that car. I owned not a Corolla, the other Camry, hated that car.
Why?
Why?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Both of them I had acquired. They had already had about 400,000 on them, so they had developed interesting interesting problems. I got them.
Personality issues.
I got them, you know, relatively for nothing. I mean, you know, a couple $100, but I used them for delivering pizza, and I just hated those cars. I just absolutely, they were small, and getting in and out of them was kind of a pain, especially if you're carrying pizza. I just hated those cars. They were front wheel drive. That didn't really help the situation, but they were cheap. So, and they were also cars that had, you know, almost 400,000 miles on them. So they were getting near the end of their lives anyway, ish.
Some people would have thought they were 7 live cats. Get 100,000 miles out.
Toyotas, you know, 400,000 miles is usually is not too bad.
Well, these ones were.
Did you ever have to put any money into them?
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah. One of them, I don't remember which one it was, but we went through fuel pump after fuel pump after fuel pump after fuel pump, and
That's probably the nearest fuel pump aftermarket.
well, no, we were buying decent fuel pumps for it, and then
Were you really?
we were paying expensive money for fuel pumps. Then we bought some aftermarket, and the aftermarket actually seemed like it worked.
As you say, because when it comes to Ford, if you buy the Ford part, I can guarantee you you're replacing that every year. But if you buy the aftermarket part, you're usually all right.
We bought the aftermarket, and then we paid about half for it because I got tired of paying what we were paying.
Well, I thought you were going to say that you go into the service station and put in 10 gallons of gasoline and 5 quarts of oil.
One of them did develop an oil leak. It actually, I think the head gasket was gone on it. I never fixed that because I was just like that.
Crank it down a little tighter.
It'll be all right. I don't see. The two car. I know they're different cars, but in my mind, they're exactly the same. They're exactly the same car, and I hated both of them.
I never been in either one of them, but the Camry was supposedly a pretty good one. But you're talking an old one back into the thing where it was.
It was.
The earlier models of those cars were not very comfortable cars.
It was horrible. It was. The Camry was definitely an upgrade from the Corolla, as far as like feature sets, and
well, it's also bigger.
Yeah, maybe just slightly. It had like a leather package in it. It potentially was a nice car that was not a good car.
Grandpa runaround car was a Toyota, and sitting in the back reminded me of sitting on a milk cart.
Yeah, you didn't want to sit in the back.
I hated that car, but it had over 450,000 miles on it before they bought another. So,
well,
I didn't get that out of a Ford back in those days.
and
they never did anything to it other than change the oil. So,
we had. I know the fuel pump went bad. We had normal stuff like brakes, but I'm almost positive we had a wheel bearing go bad on one of them.
Wheel bearing, yeah, that's not uncommon on anything after 200,000. Most vehicles don't get that.
I think that's the one where one of them had the broken engine mount, and if you parked it on a hill, the engine absolutely refused to start, and or go out of gear. It would either not start or not go out of gear.
Personality issues.
That one I had to make sure that I was sitting perfectly level every time I would go somewhere. And if I got out to a customer's house that was sitting where there was a driveway and there was a hill or something, I'm like, ah.
I just take my Prius into the dealership and then be like, what? And I'll be like, oh, here, I know what the problem is, and pop the hood, pull this, do that, and start it right up, and you're like, what?
I mean, you're talking about personality.
Yeah.
The Crown
Still.
Vic has
Personality too.
it has its own unique personality, and it's only got 100,000 on it. But I love that car. Don't get me wrong, I love that car. I'm not getting rid of that car.
I just say, what do you mean 100,000? You mean just roll it with the million hundreds?
No, it legitimately, I'm the one that put 100,000 on it. I got it when it had 57, 58.
This is a cop car?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I paid for it because it had low mileage, but
I said, they literally seriously sold a cruiser with less than 300,000 miles on it.
yes, I did. Oh, the white car, the '09, when I bought it, only had 120 on it.
That doesn't sound right at all. Feel like a detective car or something.
No, it's it used to be. It's not anymore. 5 years or 150,000 miles, whichever comes first.
Really? I've never heard those anything that low on it.
Yeah, at every auction that I ever went to buy one, they either were at least 5 years old or they had somewhere right around 150,000.
Fuck.
And what you paid for those?
The 09, which had 120,000 on it when I bought it, and had almost 300,000 on it when I finally got rid of it. I paid 1,500 and I sunk probably another $3,000 into it, getting various things worked on and fixed. The 08 that I'm driving now, I think it was 3,500 is what I ended up paying for it, and I've put another at least $4,000 in it, getting various things fixed on it. The problem with the '08 was it had been literally sitting for 5 years. And it started developing. Hoses were dry rotted, tires were starting to dry rot, other various issues. The city of Oxford, unlike most places, for some reason they parked those cars, went and bought the new ones, but they kept those as backups and never, ever, ever went out and even turned them on or looked at them or smiled at them.
I understand. That was the same thing. They bought 12
and
bankrupted the village and they used 3 of them.
I don't get it. I mean, if you're going to spend the money on
Yeah, take care of it.
at least go out and start them once.
Taxpayer money.
Yeah, but yeah, the guy that I bought them from had 3 of them, and they all had relatively low mileage on them. They had been sitting for at least 5 years that he knew of, which may mean they were sitting for longer because he knew they had been sitting. The city of Oxford didn't want to sell them, and he finally convinced them to let him sell them.
I thought that. I said, I don't remember who it was exactly. Somebody my uncle knew used to hang around with a lot 20-some years ago, but they get a lot of police cruisers like that, and they rebuild the engine because they were 800 to 100 or 1,000,000-mile engines.
Yeah,
and turn them into taxis and ship them off to New York City or something like that, and make big money off of them because they have 300,000. They just go ahead and pull the engine and just redo the whole engine and put it back in.
When they get to around 300,000, there's some major stuff that actually needs to be done maintenance wise with those cars. But I have seen a couple of them, 2 or 3, that have had 700 plus thousand on them.
So
You just have to take care of them. You just
change oil.
they just need
Well,
they need their TLC, and they need the belts tightened, and they need certain things. There's it's not a timing belt, but it's related to that. It's but the 09, I mean, it got close to that 300,000, and it started developing these weird, and it already had some weird electrical problems, probably shorted when they took out all the crap that they took out.
Well,
and I just went, I said, you know, they want another $1,500 to fix this, and I'm like, this car's just not worth it. I've got the 08. It's just not worth putting more money into this.
That's the great thing about YouTube nowadays is vehicles that usually the electrical problems are due to a leak or a shortage, and they're always in the same spot in that particular model. The YouTube video tells exactly where you got to go fix.
Yeah, I actually knew where it was, but it was such a pain to get to it. Yeah.
Usually the parts that go bad are easy to get to.
Yeah,
this where the water's getting on.
This was not at all. This was going to be major.
Doing really well on that total. I was sad to lose.
Yeah, they
just spent it refixing all the wiring and whole damn car.
The electrical issue that it was having is a known issue, and there were like 2 or 3 causes, but they were all buried down. I just kind of went, it's got 300,000 on it. I've put up with the electrical problem for it had it when I first got it, and it never really bothered me because I mean it's basically lighting, you know, interior lighting issues. Who cares? The speedometer doesn't work sometimes, and the tachometer doesn't. Who cares? It always kept track of the mileage though, even though it never displayed any of that crap, and it was buried way far down in. You pretty much had to take the entire dash out to get to it, and I'm just like, I am not doing that.
But the fail points on the Prius were on the battery, and then there was another one back at the hatchback, and then if you had a leak behind the right rear, tendency to leak where the rear taillight was, and that's above the primary battery for turning the car on.
Yeah,
so,
but I mean you're right though. I mean it's pretty well documented, especially on a car that old. Everybody knows what's wrong.
Yeah, like they tell you, it's like, here, you just need to go in here and check this one or check that one. Yeah, I was shocked because like my car was acting kind of all funny, and I fixed the battery and it was still throwing this error, and I was like, that doesn't make sense. This other guy's there, he's like, oh yeah, it's like pop open your housing here and check this connector plug, and I popped it open and one was completely burned out. And I was like, well, son of a bitch, and I just flipped it and put a wire splicer in there and started right up.
Yeah, this not that soldering would have been a problem, but this required soldering. You know, I would have had to have gotten
cut the plug out and put one of those zip clipper, like little, what are they called, those? I brought them in here one day. Those new like snap plugs or whatever work great.
Well,
put the wire on one side, one the other.
That's actually how I found out why my windshield wipers stopped working. Is I went on YouTube and said, why do my bloody windshield wipers not work? Yeah. And I'm like, okay, now it makes sense.
Cops will usually know what a lot of issues are on vehicles are too.
Yeah.
You know, I need to ask them because they're the ones that do street stuff. Because I got pulled over once because my taillights were out, And he's like, "You got a full plug light switch?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, you need to replace that switch, it's shot. Like, what are you talking about? Like, well, that doesn't make any sense. My taillights don't work. And so, no, it turned out. You need a new, you know, he was right. Pulled that out of the dash and pulled that little receptacle out, and it was half of it was black. And it was like, yeah, it's shot.
When I drove for Middletown Taxi there for a couple years, we had a Crown Vic that had a switch up under the dash, and you could switch it, and the taillights would not work at all. And that was the coolest thing ever. You could pull into a dark alley and nobody would know you were back there.
Yeah. You couldn't just turn them off.
That's not what they were for. That's not what that was meant for. It was.
Well, no, I mean, you just turn them off like old cars. You turn them on and off. They didn't turn on automatically.
It would kill the brake lights and everything. It killed. So if you were sitting back there watching somebody do something bad, they wouldn't know you were back there. Right. And that was one of the coolest things ever about that car. And then somebody came along and said, "Hey, you can't have that. You actually need to have tail lights." And sad. So they just took it out and wired the two wires together. Well, that's why the 08 doesn't have lights on it anymore, because the cops didn't have my light. They weren't hooked up. They couldn't possibly work even if I tried, but I looked like them.
Not the new ones aren't built into the windshield now.
Or the dash or the grill.
Yeah.
You can't see them. Yes.
Well, what you need to do is to replace the color with green. They're not going to say anything to you.
I actually wanted to go like with an amber color, but amber is tow truck.
Green was civilian for military.
Yeah.
But
it didn't even have the control box. So even.
Hey, I got some laser information.
Oh, okay.
So you guys ready? Several weeks ago, I dropped off a laser machine to Michigan, and the reason they bought a laser machine because they had multiple little fires in their old machine, and roundabout they kind of donated the old machine so I could repair it for a school, and yeah, I went ahead and we repainted the machine, replaced bearings, belts, pulleys. Rewired the whole thing, put a new controller on it, and I donated it to Big Walnut High School in Columbus. I did that today. Donated the machine to them today. So all that went really well. Obviously, the school teacher is very excited about it. The students are all happy, excited, and they gave me their old laser machine, which is about 20 years old. And it's a good frame if somebody wanted to rebuild it. So I'm kind of torn between tossing this thing in the garbage or investing about $800 to rebuild this laser for yet another high school or somebody. So
what kind of power does it need, Ray?
What do you mean?
What kind of input power does it need?
110 volts. It has a good working laser tube, some other basics, but it needs a chiller, which I can do pretty cheap. It needs a control system. It needs all the electronics ripped out and mount, just a new panel and to rewire it. we might be able to do autofocus on it. I'm not sure, but it's got some mechanical problems that need to be fixed. Some gearing, some belts, stuff like that. And as far as like real money, is like it needs a power supply, control system, wire, chiller. I'm guessing it's going to be less than $800 to fix it. But that's me. I know what I'm doing. I'm just kind of torn if I want to just push this thing to the dumpster or scrap out the pieces that I want to keep, push the rest of it to the dumpster, or what.
It could accidentally find its way to one of our houses.
Yeah.
Accidentally, of course.
I'm sure that you could never figure out how it accidentally did that.
I'm not saying a word one way or the other.
Just saying.
I do know a few people that have trucks.
Yeah.
Some people have degrees in dumpster diving.
I don't think you got space for it.
I probably don't. As much as I would like a laser, I'm much better in the situation of not having one and keeping Ray as a good friend.
Yeah.
Again, if you need an assistant there, Ray, that
Well,
on the home.
this laser machine it's got a workspace of 24 by 36. It's a 60-watt laser.
Oh yeah, I definitely don't have room for something like that.
24 by 36 inch, right? That's nothing.
That's the workspace. The actual physical space of the laser is, I don't know.
2 foot by 3 foot. So
yeah, that's a decent size.
About a 12-foot square. So like about the size of a pallet.
That's a decent sized machine. That
yeah,
you still
it's
need
a medium-sized machine.
at my house. And
see, I have a nice workshop with a big open spot right now for that.
Barry has a nice big open area.
That's why I asked what kind of power source it would need, because I only have 220 out there, 100 amp.
Yeah, you got plenty of power.
Do I?
Yeah, I need the 110 volt, probably a 15 amp, 20 amp breaker. That's all. It's the standard stuff.
Just a normal ordinary plug it in.
Just plug into a regular wall socket.
And as for chiller, you go get a block of ice.
Or you talk kindly to Ray.
I got to work with Ray to get it all. The parts probably, because I wouldn't know what I was doing to
it's an XY kind of deal. I mean,
it'd be like my 3D printer.
It would be a 3D printer without the Z. So I guess there is kind of a Z for the focusing, but
yes,
it's more of a.
This one is a motorized Z. It has that problem. It needs repair. The Z repaired mechanically and electrically. So it's got some issues.
The Z just doesn't travel as far as where you burn them.
And I'm thinking this will probably take 2 days, 2 8-hour days to completely strip it down, clean it, repair all the mechanical problems, and then rebuild the electrical control system. But it'd be about 800, something like that, and that would include new software and everything. So, yeah.
What is something like that capable of doing? Just etching or?
No, it'll engrave and cut through probably 1/4 inch wood, depending on the wood. Yeah. But, new mirrors, new lens. The existing power supply, I believe, is good. The existing laser tube's good. There's a couple of power supplies in it that are okay. It was using a PCI card and breakout board as the control system, and no, that's not gonna cut it. So.
Me and Vicente played with that little 40-watt laser a long time ago, and that was more than capable of cutting. You just had to set the power for the right, more than capable. So it's 60 watt.
That's really.
Yeah. I don't. We tried wood. I don't know if we tried acrylic. I think they had settings for other things or it were. And now I'm not sure we can play with it.
I have a small desktop laser, $350, but it's a 5 watts. Got cardboard and acrylic until 180. To do small stuff.
It's still better just to keep Ray in.
Well,
Ray.
Ray needs projects. We don't want Ray to get bored.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm sure Ray
I
needs
don't want to
more
get bored.
projects.
my last project was a snaking face made with tiny pinholes for the eclipse to see all the moon shapes in the floor. Pinhole camera. Yeah. A bunch of pictures. It just amazed me that it had been 7 years since the last. And we flew by.
I think it's awfully interesting. There's a lot of sevens involved in that. The leader was 7.7 days before and 7.7 days after the 7 years since the other eclipse. And there's some fun. Funny enough.
I love it. Well, there's a great video that Matthias Wandel, woodworking for engineers has, where he built a turntable and a declination, put together a Raspberry Pi camera or receiver and use an old 35mm lens. He's up in Canada, but it was really, really interesting how he cobbled the thing together. I don't know whether you've ever seen any of his videos. His name is Matthias Wandel, and the website is Woodworking for Engineers. He was one of the primary people of BlackBerry. And he designed, as I understand it, how he got into wood gears was he designed a unit that can rotate a BlackBerry through all the axes so that they could make certain that it didn't have orientation problems. And what he has on his website now is a free gear generator. And he's got, I sent it, let me back up. Julie photographed the lathe that I built with it, and she sent him the footage of it, and he edited it, and he's got that on his secondary channel.
That big crazy lathe that you did.
That was kind of a fun project. I use a 20-foot extension ladder. And so I was turning 12-foot long pieces with a power saw.
You got anything going on, Mr. Steve? You're muted again.
Pardon. Just playing with relegendable keycaps on a little tiny keyboard I've got.
Cool.
Have you made anything fun with your 3D printer yet?
Not yet, no. But it'll happen.
I have a 25% off an item at Harbor Freight. Any suggestions, anybody?
Just don't forget your free flashlight or tool or whatever it is they're giving you.
Well, I hate to not use it, but I can't think of a freaking thing to spend it on. Other than my tool chest, which is like $1,000, and I want to spend $1,000 on a tool chest.
I
If it has that nice thing, right?
Sullivan sent me this video of his homemade lathe, and I thought that was really cool. I mean, if you're going to go homemade, you're really not constrained by anything, so you can make it as big as you want to, use whatever you want to. Now, with a shaft this long, you get way too much chatter with turning tools, but he's actually using a circular saw instead of chisels on here. All right, let's get using a little bit of ladder as a lathe bed. It's got a sort of 4-jaw lathe chuck on one end, which is actually made of the Christmas trees.
Can you email that, a link to that, so I can put it in the chat so other people can see it?
That's pretty slick. I've had those that
Just search it.
Good. Maybe I can just search for
what do you say, woodworking for
It's actually
engineers?
the same title as the video.
I'll search. Come on, YouTube. Slow, YouTube.
So one of the things that I made recently on my 3D printer was this relay base. I'm sure you guys have seen the single, dual, quad, and then 8 relays in a row that you can hook up to your Arduino or your Raspberry Pi. And
Sullivan sent me this video of his homemade.
so you can connect a 5-volt or 12-volt or 24-volt, you know, whichever one you would buy. But with our Arduinos, normally we're running a 5-volt relay. And the only way you can mount it anywhere is if you use standoff. But sometimes I'm running stuff and I just got the circuit board, I'm sitting it on the table, or you know, I want to mount it in a panel, but there's all the soldered wires on the bottom of the relay board, and they're going to touch the panel or they're going to touch something else. I'm worried about the bottom of the relay arcing over to the frame of the machine or something. So I designed a little relay base for the relay board to screw onto, and then I can mount the plastic relay base anywhere I want. So the plastic relay base is fully insulated underneath the circuit board. Did that make sense?
Yes.
That's something that I designed. It's not very complicated or nothing. It helps do the job. Pretty neat. On the chat, I put in 3 pictures. One of the pictures of that relay base. Instead of using screws, I think in the future, if I do a revision, I'll just make it a snap-in. You know, the relay board will just snap in place. Aside from that, I put in the hot end cover replacement. I went ahead and printed out a couple of those, and I was really impressed with the slot that will be 3D printed right out of the Ender 3. So if you look at the second picture that I sent, there's those holes for the fan to breathe the air through. and they're like little slots. And I was really surprised that the 3D printer would do slots like that without a support or anything. They're just bridging over top of space. So something I was not expecting.
Cool.
Very. Now you need to make the back of your relay mount work on DIN rail.
Yeah. DIN rails. I've thought about it. The problem is like for that cheap of a relay, I don't know very many people that would want to use DIN rails. But if I'm just going to give away the design, put it out there on Thingiverse, people can use it and have it. I ordered more of the relays that are of that style, like a single. I just had the double, use the 4 bang and the 8 gang. I'll take those and design relay bases for those, put them out on Thingiverse or something. I don't have a Thingiverse account, but I'm sure I could whip up something pretty quick. I've seen plenty of people out there with those, what do they call them, articulatable fish or articulatable, the animals that flex back and forth and the dragon that flexes back and forth. There's nothing utility about a lot of this crap. So I'm like, hey, let's actually make some stuff. The Ender 3 hot end cover. Let's make a relay space. The adapter stuff for my laser machine. So, Steve, do you know?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. Do you have 3D CAD software, or do you have any CAD experience?
I use OpenSCAD, which is kind of drafting for mathematicians, which for the most part I get. It's not difficult to use, and some things it's very easy to do. And it's available for Linux.
Okay. I've got a customer. He uses a Libre, a CAD, and he says he uses it because it's free. It's not incredibly powerful, but it does the job.
I've never heard of that one.
I've heard of it. I haven't used it.
What's it called?
A Libre, ALIBRE. I believe it's it. A Libre CAD.
Okay.
And John tells me that it's free, which is a good price for me. But I've never used it. But he says, once you get past some of the quirky stuff, it's a good solution. So I'm like, okay.
I also use KiCad, but that's more electronics related.
I use a 2004 version of AutoCAD that I paid for a long time ago, and it still does a great job. So I don't have to do any license updates for it. It just works. The permanent license.
So just looking at a Libre's front page, it's 30 days, no restrictions. Something kicks in after that time, I suspect.
It looks like it's $10 a month if you do monthly, or $200 if you want to pay for the lifetime.
I just found that SketchUp has a web-based program that you can access through just about anything with an app.
Huh.
And send links from place to place. And
SketchUp is
yeah,
still.
free web-based SketchUp. Next one down. So if you put in, yeah, it's an app.
So
I haven't done any searching for good CAD programs in about 3 years. I'm sure a lot of things have changed.
There's definitely more tools out there.
I see no mention of this working in Linux, so not going to help me any.
Yeah.
Nobody uses Windows anymore.
Steve, are you anti-Windows or what, man?
Windows.
Yeah, absolutely.
All
I
right.
know how the company came into power. I know what they do to their customers.
I got a buddy that learned how to make stuff. They create design.
There's a lot of reasons to not use Microsoft.
Like all the parts come together.
They're getting to be more reasons too.
Yeah.
They're adding
Yeah.
they're adding more reasons not to use them.
I looked at 20 tutorials and said,
OpenSCAD works on anything. Pretty impressive. Once you get used to how it works, it's very easy to build modules that you can incorporate into larger assemblies. And that's awfully handy.
LinkedIn bought the
Okay.
Ohio had
How does it do solids and parametric?
tutorial program.
Can it do parametric?
Parametrics work very easily.
Did and LinkedIn.
Okay.
So Ohio library cards you can get into.
I will put that on my list of ones to check out.
That's always everything on LinkedIn tutorials for free.
I thought you had used OpenSCAD before, Ray. I thought you had that on one of your machines.
this one free.
Yeah.
Man, I've been through so much.
Like Whittier or something like
Well,
think it's called, but they've got some really nice free.
I just
Easy.
do what?
It's easy to install. I just installed it on one of my boxes here. Yeah.
Yep.
Apt install OpenSCAD. Bang, you're done.
I would recommend apt install OpenSCAD-doc as well.
Dash docs. Okay.
Yep.
New word, no, come on.
What is the doc? Is it just tutorials and documents?
Tells you how it works. Gives you examples of stuff. There's a very good cheat sheet online that is HTML, so linked to, it gives you the 200 commands, and then each of those is a link to how to use it, examples of how to put it together. It's nice.
I can't get it to install, Steve. What is it? It's OpenSCAD-doc.
DOC.
Well, if I could go back for just a second to the web-based SketchUp, I was able to go back and pick up my designs for the recumbent trike, and it would accept all the old versions and bring those up, and it will store the plans on the web, and then you can send a link via regular email to anybody, and they can pull it up and share the design. And as a group project, you can modify in team project on it. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I didn't even realize SketchUp was still a thing.
Well, they wanted money for it for quite some time, which left me using 2016 version because I'm too cheap to pay for it.
Yeah,
Probably AI for that, you know.
I don't want to use SketchUp as an AI. Make me a round circle. Okay, and here's your square. Thanks.
3D software
Make me a
went
bolt that
down.
looks like a cat.
I pay like 30,000, 25,000 years ago for a software. And today, same for free.
I got a stick for kids to. Oh, no.
I've been using the online Tinkercad.
I think
It's a basic CAD.
AutoCAD has a license for makers.
Do what?
AutoCAD.
AutoCAD does? AutoCAD's just for Windows though, right?
Windows.
I believe so.
You can always go there. That's what everybody uses now, right?
Hey, can somebody put a link for SCAD on the chat?
I'm sure somebody could.
Please. Would you please?
Yes, we will. You're talking open SCAD, right?
Yes.
There it is.
Steve's favorite.
Oh, Steve beat me to it.
We got Open SCAD, Tinkercad, SketchUp, Libre, and obviously there's Draft Site from Dassault, and then AutoCAD. But those are paid items. I do like Fusion 360, but again, paid items. The thing slowly starts to nickel and dime it.
One I tried using but never got, onshape.org or onshape.com. One of my kids loves it. It makes sense to him, but it never made sense to me. It's basically start with a sphere and then pull it to the shape you want with, I don't know,
So
it's
it's
just
modeling.
weird. Yeah.
Pen and paper to start anything. I need to design in pen and paper and then go to the CAD.
There's a link to FreeCAD as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Then something, and my idea is frozen. And have the idea, finish, and then go to the CAD.
I think I tried to use FreeCAD once, maybe twice.
Also, but SketchUp is so much more flexible because you can flip it, rotate it, stretch it, pick components, move them. Yeah. It is, you need to be profitable with the tool, you know, you need to, and this is, I feel like I'm stuck trying to do something. This has got a real low learning curve. I went to Italy to visit all the big companies that use 3D CADs. All of them have an old guy with a table, pen, pencil, and paper, and then a bunch of young people in the next room using those papers to create the finished product, you know? But the creation is paper. What you're not replacing is the contents of your. That'd be cool, but.
Well, the tools don't even hardly do what you can do in drafting, that you can't do it with computers. Well, you might be able to keep it on there. One of the guys I used to do computer work for, he was an artist, or whatever, but he ended up doing drafting for Cummins for a lot of years. But what he did is, he did work for the government too for a while. They give him all the parts, right? And he puts the finished product together with the sectional cutouts of how all the parts fit together, right? and replaced him with all these CAD people. And about 6 months later, they called him back because they didn't know how to do the engine slices, because now the engineers knew how to put the engine together with all the parts.
Right. Ray says if someone is really interested in the old used laser from the school, he can send pictures.
I didn't say old, but
I
yeah.
said old.
You need to send it, and if you need a phone number,
And there's a phone
513.
number. Yeah. Do I?
Oh, you want me to send a phone number to him? Is that right?
Yeah, that's Ray's phone number, yeah.
It's very gracious, but I will pass.
Barry's the one that seems like he's.
I'm just saying, Ray needs a project. We don't want Ray to get bored.
Ray, do
I
you
might
need another
have
project?
space in the shop.
I need a large
I
paper to write
I
down.
have enough projects to get me through the next 30 years. Yeah.
That's what I figured.
Well, I do too. I'm not saying I don't. I'm just, you know.
Okay,
Just
now,
one more.
apparently everyone is following the same philosophy I do. I can't die until I finish the projects I have going. And at the current rate, I'm going to live
Yeah.
forever.
So, yeah. Yeah. I thought you had Ray's.
Yeah, that's why I've never used it yet, so.
Oh.
So they have mine, so.
Ray's phone
Okay.
has Ray's text message. Yeah, I want
Hey,
that.
Ray. Let's play.
Gonna go straight to spam because.
Ray's like, I ain't accepting that.
Stage of any project is a napkin and a pen?
Yeah.
No. First stage of any project is a visualization. It's an animal. Yeah. See, yes. I gotta rotate around my head. Your mind, yeah. Change it. Yeah.
Actually,
Sometimes you have too much details and you need to put down some of them to continue thinking in different details. You need to fix some parts and continue with others.
anymore, first stage of a project for me is scribble on the little notepad. It's not great for scribbling. It's not great for scribbling pictures, but it works. At least I don't forget what it is I'm doing. Got some clue. So I still haven't figured out what to do with that N5 GIN module that I got.
Either way,
I'm sitting there going, I'm going, wait, Barry's getting a laser machine that's going to need a new display. That might be a good, there might be a.
Barry's got 560 computers in his closet that he could make a display. With 14 monitors on the floor, I keep kicking it.
Oh yeah, you could make a really big.
I'm still looking for
Hey,
that
I've been
ATV.
I've been rebuilding these full spectrum lasers, and they have BeagleBone boards in them.
Yeah.
They've got breakout boards in them. Some of them have a embedded PC board and displays. So I have a box full of decent sized controllers and different stuff. So
I got that screen I got from that option for the Pi that I don't use. Like $1.50.
Oh, speaking of screens, since I just remembered, Steve, send the link to that little display that you showed us last week, if you can, or put it in
a second.
I didn't get it, but you had other things to worry about. You got married and stuff. I wasn't that worried. You had other things on your mind. It's all right.
Well, on little screens, I just got these today. from AliExpress.
Oh, I've got a
Two
couple.
and a or 1.28 inch round, 240 by 240.
Yeah, I've got a couple of those.
Yeah, make ice.
Yep. Mine came. I bought the ones with the little face around them though.
Ooh, it went up by a chunk.
Of course it did. Because I want it.
I ended up buying some of the little magnetic dishes just because the price had doubled on those. Harbor Freight and stuff, and the Micro Center still had them for $1. So you know what? Like if they're going up that much at Harbor Freight, they're gonna probably go up like that everywhere.
You know, what's that?
Those little magnetic dishes.
Oh, for parts.
Yeah, they put the screws and stuff in. I was gonna get some, but they were out because they had like the half off.
Hey Ray, if you ever really want to donate a laser machine, I will have to rent out the downstairs apartment, but we can certainly.
But you can come to my shop and use laser whenever you need to.
I'm just kidding. I know I can come over there.
When I bought that thing, it was $14.
That did go up in a chunk of change then.
Well, it says it's 42 over on the right with the line to it. 41.49. How much were they when you got them, Steve?
When I got it, it was 14.
Wow.
Everything's getting stupid.
Touch? Anyone is touched?
That's why I'm trying to grab up some stuff while it's still reasonable.
Still semi-reasonable. Okay. Well, I guess I'm going to have to rethink that maybe. I don't really need another display that bad. I like that display though. That was a nice display.
It's pretty.
About 30 years ago, one of the people that was a mechanic at Middletown Works in the recycle facility, it's a really dirty, nasty job, won the lottery. And I went down and was doing some work there, and I said, "Uncle Ned, how are you doing?" He turned and gave me this funny look. I said, "I bet you have a bunch of nephews who never knew you had before." And he bought a Cadillac and drove it to work. Now, this is a facility that has fine fume iron oxide that if you take it and you put a little speck on your finger, by the time you walk out the door, every bit of your clothing is contaminated, including your underwear and socks. And he drove the Cadillac for about 3 months until it was completely filthy, inside and outside. Went down a year later, he cut the back half of the car off with a camper on it. And he's still working because all of his lottery winnings that were evaporated. Usually. Uncle Dan.
4-minute countdown. Somebody flicker the light.
Thank you, Ray. Yeah, we're getting close.
I haven't got my text message yet, Ray.
All right, I'm going.
Was that you that said, "Hey Ray, let's play"?
Yeah. You said you needed a number to send the pictures to.
At least.
Well, I'll have to take some pictures first. Because all I got is a blue tarp. Right now, this looks like a blue tarp.
At least he didn't text you and say,
I like that one in that picture. Looks that'd be fine, Ray, if you want to bring that on over.
That's what I said. I'll just have to bring another apartment up.
Well, you just pull up and roll that right on into the dock.
If you're north of Middletown, maybe.
Don't forget the smells when you try to cook something.
All right. I'm going to shut down and put all my junk away. And we are virtual next week. And I'll see everybody next week. Hopefully.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Good night.
Good night.
See you later. Bye.